Hey guys, Laura with Garden Answer, and we are so excited to team up with Proven Winners to show you guys how to create a gorgeous and simple fall container arrangement. When I'm putting together a container arrangement, I like to use a 3-part recipe, and it consists of a thriller, a filler, and a spiller. Your thriller plant is what brings height and drama to your arrangement. It's usually an ornamental grass, or it can be a flowering or even a foliage plant. And they're placed either in the center of the pot if the pot's going to be viewed from all angles, or placed toward the back of the pot if it's going to be butted up against a wall or a fence. Filler plants are a step down in height from your thriller, and they fill in the midsection of your pot. And they are usually a little bit more full and rounded in appearance and can be either blooming or foliage plants. And then comes your spiller plants, and those are tucked in around the edges to spill over and trail over the sides of your pots, and they can either be blooming or foliage as well. Before I plant, I'm going to fill up my soil to about 2 to 3 inches from the top of the rim with a good potting soil. Perfect. This is my thriller plant. Check this grass out. This is a Graceful Grasses Vertigo Pennisetum. Talk about adding some drama to your container. These get anywhere from 3 to 4 feet tall, and they don't lose their color throughout the season. So it's actually a grass, not just for a fall container, but also throughout the whole summer. This pot is going to end up against a wall, so I'm going to place the thriller plant toward the back. In my area, this grass is an annual, but if you live in an area that stays above 15 degrees Fahrenheit, it should survive and be a perennial for you. And bonus, they like full sun and they're heat and drought tolerant. Next up are my fillers, and this is my first one. This is a Heliopsis Tuscan Sun, and I think this is just a gorgeous, gorgeous plant. I mean, it just looks like late summer, fall color, don't you think? These are actually heat and drought tolerant as well. They like full sun, and they will continue blooming all throughout the season if you keep them deadheaded. So you just go down and pop off their little spent blooms, and they'll keep performing for you. A wonderful thing about this one is that it is a zone 3 plant, so it's hardy to negative 40, I think, degrees, which that's amazing. And I'm going to place this plant right to the left of my thriller. We'll just tuck it right in, remembering to break the root memory a little bit with our fingers. This Heliopsis gets up to 36 inches tall, so in a smaller pot without a big tall grass like this, it could actually be a great thriller. My next filler is a Cinnamon Dolce Heuchera, and this one actually has a little bit different light requirements if you were to plant this in the landscape than the other plants that I'm using in this pot. But the fun part about spring and fall planters is that you can blur the lines a little bit because the sun isn't quite as intense. So this will be great in an area that gets sun in the fall. In my area, it gets super, super intensely hot in the summer, so these have to be in the shade, but it'll work great for a fall container. And this one we don't use for blooms as much as we use it for this beautiful foliage color. And these are a hardy perennial as well. So you can pop all the perennial plants out of this pot at the end of the fall season and put them in your landscape, water them in, and they should come up great next season. My last filler is a Hocus Pocus Veronica, and I love this plant, and I think it's because I'm partial to purple. I love purple in the landscape, and I think it looks great with the yellow. They're opposites on the color wheel, so they really complement each other. And this again is a really tough perennial, and it actually attracts birds and hummingbirds as well, so you kind of get an extra benefit there. And just pop it in. Isn't that looking so pretty? And lastly, I have 2 spillers to finish off this whole arrangement. The first one is a Dreamsicles Superbells Calibrachoa. The Superbells Calibrachoas are awesome, awesome plants. I love them. First of all, the color is amazing for a fall arrangement. This is a beautiful kind of terracotta orange color, and they don't require deadheading, ever. I love plants like that. They're super vigorous and abundant with their blooms, and they take really well to trimming. So if it gets too leggy or if it gets too long, you can trim it and it'll just like boom with more blooms. So I'm actually going to come around the back side of this pot because this plant is going in between our Heliopsis and our Heuchera. Calibrachoas are also sun-loving plants, and they like drought and they like heat. They don't like to be super wet, and they also will last through a really hard frost. So they'll take this planter all the way up until winter, which is great. The last plant I'm going to use is a Dichondra Silver Falls, and I love to use a little touch of silvery blue in most all of my container arrangements, and this one is going to look gorgeous, tucked in right in between our Veronica and our Heuchera there. These are sun-loving plants that like drought and heat, so they are just going to do great in this container. Isn't this a gorgeous arrangement? And it's so easy too. I only used 6 plants. So as a recap, as my thriller, I used a Graceful Grasses Vertigo Pennisetum. And for my fillers, I used Tuscan Sun Heliopsis, Cinnamon Dolce Heuchera, Hocus Pocus Veronica. And then for my spillers, I use Silver Falls Dichondra and a Superbell's Dreamsicle Calibrachoa. Now this is a pretty good sized pot, so even though these plants look pretty jammed in here, there's a lot of room for root growth. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope that you learned something, and I hope you are inspired to go out and create your own fall containers. See you guys in the next video. Bye.